The death of Emily Ross. In the town of Willowbrook, rain was a constant companion. I awoke to the gentle tap of raindrops against my bedroom window, a soothing yet unwelcome reminder that my plans for a peaceful day off had been swept away. As the sheriff of this small town, I had learned that crime never took a break, not even on a rainy Sunday morning. Reluctantly, I swung my legs out of bed and rubbed the sleep from my eyes. The drowsiness clung to me like an ever-present shadow. My phone on the nightstand beckoned with its illuminating screen, displaying Deputy Carter on the caller ID. I swiped to answer. Sheriff Thompson speaking. Morning, Sheriff, Carter's voice crackled through the line. We've got a situation at the old miller's place. You need to get down here. I sighed and checked the clock. It was barely past 6. What's the situation, Carter? I can't say much over the phone, Sheriff, but it's grim. You'll want to see it in person. No further persuasion was needed. I hastily donned my uniform, grabbed my raincoat, and left my house. Willowbrook, nestled among hills and forests, was a town that seemed even sleepier than usual in the rain. Most folks spent their Sundays in church or with their families, but for law enforcement officers like us, duty knew no rest. Pulling up at the miller's place, I found Deputy Carter waiting in his patrol car, its headlights slicing through the rain. After the usual greeting, I inquired about his wife, Kelly. As I stepped out of the car and into the downpour, I followed Carter into the house. Our boots squelched on the front porch. The miller's place was a 2-story farmhouse, its wooden exterior worn by the years. A dark history lingered here, a murder-suicide from decades past that haunted the town's collective memory. It had been abandoned since, except for occasional trespassers. Approaching the front door, Carter pointed his flashlight. With caution, we pushed the creaking front door open. It swung ominously on its rusty hinges. Darkness enveloped the interior, with only the constant drip of rainwater from a leaky roof breaking the silence. Carter and I exchanged uneasy glances and ventured deeper into the house. We eventually reached the living room, lit by a dim, flickering candle on an old, dusty table. Eerie shadows danced on the peeling wallpaper. In the center of the room lay a lifeless body. It was a woman, sprawled on the floor, her vacant eyes fixed on the ceiling. She wore a tattered shirt and dirty jeans, both showing signs of a struggle. Bruises marked her slender neck. I knelt beside her, my fingers gently checking for a pulse on her cold skin. There was none. She was dead. Who is she? I asked Carter. Carter crouched down, examining her face. I believe it's Emily Ross. She disappeared a few days ago. Emily Ross had been a lively teenager who had called Willowbrook home her entire life. Her vanishing had sent shockwaves through the town, and now, her lifeless body lay in this grim tableau. I rose to my feet, my mind racing. We need to secure the scene. Call it in. As we waited for backup, a feeling settled over me that Willowbrook was about to become the epicenter of a crime unlike any it had ever seen. The rain persisted as we awaited the arrival of the crime scene investigators. The eerie aura surrounding the old miller's residence intensified in the daylight, with its crumbling walls seemingly concealing long-forgotten secrets. During the wait, I resolved to explore the house more thoroughly, hoping to uncover any clues that might lead us to Emily's killer. My journey led me upstairs, where my footsteps echoed on the decaying wooden floorboards. The upper level mirrored the desolation of the ground floor, with empty, deteriorating rooms that echoed tales of bygone happiness. Yet one room drew my attention like a magnet. At the end of the hallway, a slightly ajar door emitted a faint, inviting light. I gingerly pushed it open and entered. This room defied the decay that surrounded it. It was immaculately maintained. Off to the side I saw a small mattress nestled on the floor. But what seized my attention was the central arrangement, akin to an altar. Candles, flowers, and a time-worn Bible adorned a meticulously arranged table, resembling a place of reverence. Intrigued, I approached the table and examined its contents. My curiosity deepened when I spotted a diary concealed beneath the Bible. Bound in worn leather, its pages bore the marks of age, yellowed and fragile. I delicately picked it up and began to read. The diary belonged to Emily Ross. Within its pages, the teenager poured out her thoughts and emotions, chronicling her life in Willowbrook. She recounted her family's historical ties to the town and their connection to the Millers' residence. She also shared her struggles with isolation and despair. Turning to the next pages, I noted that some were missing, ripped from the binding. What caught my attention, however, were the recent entries. Emily had become fixated on the Millers' residence. She documented peculiar incidents, such as hearing whispers in the night and sensing a presence within the house. It was as if she believed that the Millers' place held the answers to her own identity. I couldn't help but wonder if Emily's obsession with this house had played a role in her demise. Before I could delve further into the diary, Carter's voice crackled over the radio. "Sheriff, the crime scene investigators have arrived." Carefully, I returned the diary to its place on the table and descended the stairs to join Carter and the investigators. In the days that followed, Willowbrook was consumed by the investigation into Emily Ross's murder, with everyone seemingly possessing a theory or a morsel of gossip to share. The autopsy report revealed the chilling truth: Emily had met her demise by strangulation. Yet, a daunting question loomed like an ominous specter: who was the culprit, and what drove them to commit such a heinous act? As we delved deeper into the mystery of Emily's life, we uncovered her relentless quest to unearth her family's concealed history, a journey that ultimately led her to the foreboding Miller residence. Within that eerie chamber, we stumbled upon a diary that emerged as a crucial piece of evidence. Its cryptic entries hinted at hidden family secrets and an unusual connection to the abandoned house. Additionally, we learned the somber fact that Emily's parents had tragically perished during her childhood, leaving her in the care of distant yet kind-hearted relatives, a situation that raised numerous questions about her lineage. Our pursuit of answers brought us to the realization that Emily had sought guidance from a local historian named Samuel Turner. She had visited him regularly, yearning for insights into the Miller house. Samuel had been captivated by her unwavering determination and had pledged to assist her in uncovering the concealed truths. With hope in our hearts, we visited Samuel, hoping for clarity in this perplexing puzzle. His cluttered office, overflowing with books and ancient manuscripts, was a veritable sanctuary of history. Samuel, a wiry septuagenarian with a flowing white beard and an inquisitive glint in his eye, warmly welcomed us. I knew Emily quite well, Samuel reflected as he sipped his tea. She was a determined young woman, driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge about that house's lineage. Did she ever mention any strange occurrences at the house or anyone who might wish her harm? I inquired. Samuel leaned closer, his eyes a mix of curiosity and concern. She believed it was haunted, Sheriff. She spoke of hearing voices and encountering eerie apparitions. However, when it comes to someone wanting to harm her, I can confidently say no. She was loved by everyone in this town. As our investigation progressed, we learned that Emily had also been in contact with a local photographer, Alex Reed. Alex, a chronicler of Willowbrook's history, had extensively photographed the Miller residence. Emily's fascination with the house had sparked his interest, leading him to agree to accompany her on an exploration. We called in Alex for questioning, and he recounted the night when he and Emily had ventured into the house. He described eerie noises and an overwhelming sense of foreboding that had driven them to flee in terror, marking the last time he had seen Emily alive. In the solitude of my nighttime contemplation, with the rain gently tapping against the windowpane, frustration gnawed at me. The puzzle of Emily's murder seemed to slip further from my grasp with each passing day, along with the elusive contents of those missing diary pages. Days passed, and our investigation wandered down countless winding paths, all leading to frustrating dead ends. We interviewed family, friends, and associates, yet the motive for Emily's murder remained veiled in ambiguity. One evening, as I sat exhaustedly in my office, re-examining the evidence, a phone call altered the course of our inquiry. As the voice on the other end continued to speak, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. A few hours later, I found myself seated across from my partner, Carter, in his kitchen. I had awakened him in the dead of night, urgently requesting a pot of coffee, for I believed I had unraveled the identity of Emily's murderer. Carter sat before me, disheveled in a t-shirt and shorts, his hair tousled, and his glasses slightly askew from the sudden awakening. He wasn't thrilled about being roused from sleep, but he dutifully brewed a fresh cup of coffee. I noted that his wife, Kelly, was absent, as he explained that she had left earlier to tend to her ailing mother. We sat there for a moment, shrouded in an uncomfortable silence beneath the faint, humming light hanging above us. Carter couldn't bear the tension any longer. "Well," he interrupted, eager to bring this uneasy encounter to a close and return to his bed. My response was silence, but my demeanor shifted from a friendly one to a deadly serious tone as I retrieved worn, yellowed pages from my pockets. These pages were torn from a diary, and I placed them carefully on the table beside me, never once breaking my gaze from Carter. I wanted to gauge his reaction, and he did not disappoint, his face contorting with shock and terror. "Where did you find those?" he pressed, attempting to regain his composure. "Let's just say a little birdie told me," I replied, my stern expression locked onto him. Carter's mouth began to open but quickly shut. He didn't attempt to deny anything, yet he also couldn't discern how much I knew or if I was merely trying to make him incriminate himself. "So all you have is some girl with a vivid imagination?" he smugly retorted. His comment infuriated me, and in response, I tossed several photos onto the table. I had printed them out earlier tonight, and I watched his face once again shift to fear. His fist slammed onto the table as he screamed at me, hurling savage words my way, all triggered by the image of him and Emily embracing in the old miller's house. The uncomfortable silence hung heavily over him once more as I continued to glare at him, waiting for his response. With sweat trickling down his brow, he nervously muttered that Emily was 18. "So what? Was she 18 3 years ago when you caught her shoplifting?" I calmly countered. Carter's jaw dropped at my words. I explained that after a call I received earlier that night, I had done a little digging. Emily had been arrested for shoplifting and the arresting officer had been none other than Carter. Thanks to his intervention, the charges to be dropped. Taking a moment to gather his thoughts before speaking, Carter confessed that it was never meant to spiral out of control. When he arrested her, she was crying and terrified, but he found her irresistibly beautiful and innocent. In the back of his squad car, they had become intimate. According to him, Emily claimed he was her first, and they had stolen moments whenever they could, choosing the old miller's house as their secret rendezvous spot for a thrill. She had even devised the idea to make everyone believe the house was haunted, and he had helped her play pranks on unsuspecting visitors. In her mind, this would make the house exclusively theirs. My expression transformed from stern to one of profound disgust. I spat out that Carter was nothing but filth, his actions sickening, my anger simmering just below the surface. He raised his voice in his defense, asserting that he was well aware of his wrongdoing but could never have killed Emily. I couldn't help but suppress a snicker as I assured him of my belief in his innocence. Carter furrowed his brow, utterly perplexed. I waited for a moment, wanting him to piece it together on his own. Finally, his gaze drifted towards the pages I held in my hand, and he questioned, "How did you get those pages and pictures?" With a calm demeanor, I replied, "Your wife." A mixture of amazement and anger flushed across Carter's face as he muttered, "She killed Emily, didn't she?" "Yes," I responded, proceeding to explain that Kelly had known about his affair with a minor for some time. She had planned to confront him with divorce papers and the mountain of evidence she had gathered. However, one day, she witnessed Emily playing the sweet pure girl and manipulating the entire town with her innocent facade. That had been the last straw. Kelly had followed Emily to the miller's house and confronted her. Emily's sweet demeanor had swiftly transformed into that of a venomous snake, hurling insults at Kelly for being a washed-up woman that no man desired. Emily had declared Carter as hers. In a fit of rage, Kelly had tackled Emily and strangled the arrogant young girl until she could breathe no more. Carter sighed, tears streaming down his face. "What have I done?" I remained silent, allowing him to weep. Carter eventually recomposed himself, fully prepared to face the consequences of his actions. He took full responsibility and pleaded for me to help Kelly, who had already suffered enough. I paused, leaned back in my chair, and took a sip of coffee. "Don't worry, Carter," I replied, and swiftly produced my firearm, aiming it at my terrified partner. I promised her that no one would harm her ever again. I pulled the trigger, ending the life of the man responsible for Emily's death. In our small town, it always seemed to be raining. I awoke to the gentle sound of raindrops tapping on my bedroom window. The soft, rhythmic pitter-patter against the glass was oddly comforting, but it also served as a reminder that my plans for a peaceful day off had been washed away. As the sheriff of Willowbrook, I knew all too well that crime never took a break, not even on a rainy Sunday morning. I swung my legs out of bed and rubbed my tired eyes, trying to shake off the lingering drowsiness. Reaching for my phone on the nightstand, I saw Deputy Conrad on the caller ID. I swiped to answer. "Sheriff Thompson speaking." "Morning, Sheriff," Conrad's voice crackled through the line. "We've got a situation down here. You better come see for yourself." I sighed, glancing at the clock. It was just past 6 a.m. "What's going on, Conrad?" "I can't explain it all over the phone, Sheriff, but it's not looking good. You'll want to see this in person." With a resigned sigh, I ended the call, knowing there was no choice but to head out and deal with whatever had disrupted the peace of my town. As I prepared to leave, a soft, angelic voice called to me from the bed, asking if I had to go. A warm smile spread across my lips as I turned to the beautiful woman lying beside me. Kelly meekly smiled as I leaned in and gently kissed her cheek, assuring her that I'd be back soon. With her eyes closed, she whispered that she loved me, and I responded, "I love you more," before heading out the door to ensure the safety of our town.